excited that you're here. I'm really thrilled about it. I'm more excited that I don't have to be saying, welcome to my free First Time Homebuyer Seminar anymore. If you follow me on socials, that's all I've been talking about for the last couple of months. But I'm passionate about this. I lived here, I grew up here, and anything to help our community realize their dream of home ownership. We're gonna answer all your questions. We have a lot of professionals here. And don't feel embarrassed to ask anything or just jump in or interrupt at any time. I want to thank Westbury Library for letting us host here for free. I want to thank the amazing community of Westbury and Park Place for allowing me to post all over Post Avenue. Thank you. And Maple. They allowed me to advertise for free. That's how amazing this community is. Then we have our amazing attorney from right here in Westbury, from Levin and Chekhov. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Okay. It's crucial and mandatory to have an attorney in New York. You don't want to rubber stamp this. You want to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row in the beginning. He handles contracts, title, and protects you from all legal interest. Then we have Matthew. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Guys, give him a warm welcome. He's pretty shy. Come on. He'll tell you what's really going on behind the walls before you sign on the dotted line. It is important to have a home inspection. I don't care what anyone tells you. And then we have Peter Carbone, our insurance agent. Insurance is particularly special to me. Of course, you need insurance before you close, but he's going to make sure you get the right insurance at a fair price. And that's my daughter. By the end of the seminar, you should have all your questions answered. Feel free to contact any one of us. We have our information and we are here to help you. We're gonna have up first.
Putting this together for us. My name is Michael Levin. As you heard before, I'm a partner at Levin and Chekhov. We are at 265 Post Avenue. We've been there for more than 20 years. I've been practicing for more than 30 years. I'm going to give you a brief idea of what it is to get into a real estate transaction. So the first part of this transaction will be when you find something you like. I don't know that. My first knowledge is a deal sheet or a transaction sheet gets either emailed to me or my client contacts me and says, be on the lookout for a deal sheet. The deal sheet has the general idea of what that transaction is going to be. Location, purchase price, the seller, the buyers, attorney information. While it's kind of bare bones, it's essential. It's what gives us the backbone of what we're going to proceed with from that point forward. Then I will confirm with you, as my client, what those numbers are, where the house is located. Is that the right amount of money? Now, we did discuss just briefly a home inspection.
Yes.
It is essential. There are people that waive it due to a cost. The cost is nominal compared to what you're saving by having some peace of mind, okay? There are hidden things in a house. The home inspection will reveal those. Now, the only thing I would say as an attorney is I do prefer that they do the home inspection before a contract's drafted. Because what that's going to do is, while yes, you're going to pay for the home inspection, you're going to save money on me. Because if for some reason you get a devastating report or something like $30,000 in repairs that have to be made on that house, and you won't move forward without it, and the seller doesn't want to do it, you're going to move on to the next deal. But if you already paid me to start reviewing a contract, you're losing money on me. So it's better to have the home inspection done beforehand. If not, we write it into the contract, and there's a time for you to do it, okay, before you ever have to sign the contract. The home inspection is done, and we have an agreement on a purchase price, and there are no repairs that have to be made. If there are repairs, they're in the form of like a punch list. There could be roof shingles that need to be repaired, or a garage door that doesn't open. Hopefully those things are all repaired beforehand, otherwise they're in the contract anyway, okay? Once that's done, we will now, unfortunately, have to wait as the buyer for a contract to be sent to us. The seller's attorney in New York traditionally prepares the contract of sale. So once I get that contract, again, I'm going to be reviewing it for terms, purchase price, all the material items that we discussed, my client and I, to make sure that exists in that document, because that's a binding agreement. We don't sign off on that. I mark it up tremendously in red ink or online, and I send it back, and we negotiate back and forth on the terms. When we negotiate on a repair, that's because we found there was an issue that had to be resolved. Otherwise, it's legalese that I'm negotiating and making sure that the purchase price is the purchase price, the closing date's the closing date. These are all important, yet they seem minor, but they're important things, not the purchase price, but a closing date. You might want to get in before the school year. The seller might not care. So those are things that still need to be negotiated beforehand. Once that's finalized, the document's produced in a final form for execution, that's signature. You will come in as the buyers first, you'll sign before the seller. That document is then sent back to the seller's attorney, signed by you. Now we're awaiting a full binding contract. That only happens when both parties sign. In addition to the contract signed by you, your contract deposit is also part of that transaction. Is anyone here familiar with contract deposit on a purchase of a home? It's also typically in the deal sheet. Sometimes the percentage is off, but nonetheless, the standard is 10%, but sometimes it's negotiated down to 5%. Depends on the cost of the house and the condition of the people.
That 10% you're referring to is different from the down payment?
No, that is the contract deposit that's part of the down payment. It's not in addition to the down payment. If they need 20%, if your mortgage lender needs 20%, that 75 is part of that 20%. You're just coming up with the difference. What it does is it gives the seller peace of mind that they can take their house off the market while they're waiting for you to get a mortgage, right? Otherwise, if you've given them nothing and we just have a signed document, they're not sure you're really going ahead with this. Now, if for some reason there's a breach, you don't get a mortgage because your measurables aren't there, or if there's something else that occurs by the seller doing something wrong, or they can't give you good title, or there's certificates of occupancy, I'll explain that a little bit later, that are outstanding, meaning the house doesn't have permits for the work that was done, and the deal goes south, that contract deposit is returned to you. You'll be applying for a mortgage. The contract will allow you a certain amount of time to get what's called a mortgage commitment. That's a bank approving you. Subsequent underwriting still has to look at the file, but they're going to approve you for a loan in a certain sum of money that's in the contract. It could be less than that, it could even be more than that, but it can't alter the agreement. So if you need a mortgage for $450,000, you can't ask them for $550, and if you don't get it, you can't say, I'm not going through it. So that needs to be known when you're buying your house, before you go to contract. You need to come in and tell me, I'm getting a mortgage, it's gonna be for $500,000. Because that's gonna go on the contract. And you're gonna have 45 days, sometimes 30, sometimes 60, to get that mortgage commitment, which is not the loan, it's a letter from your bank giving you proof that you're gonna get it if you do various things. I'm not gonna go into the mortgage lending business because we have an expert here for that. But that's very important. You're dotting your I's and crossing your T's, getting him all the information, he or her, all the information they need to make sure you get your loan in a timely fashion. The commitment letter is a contractual condition that I have to provide to the seller's attorney to say, here we are, we're getting our mortgage. Now that doesn't mean that they'll always fund it. Every once in a while the bank has an issue, someone loses their job between commitment letter and the closing, the bank may not be funding that loan. So it's important that that contract gives you an out. If it's through not your fault that you're not getting your loan, then in that case, the contract becomes null and void and you get your contract deposit back. Back in 2002, there was a law passed called the Property Condition Disclosure Act, and it required the seller of a house to provide you with information about the condition of the house, the mechanical, the infrastructure, the environmentals, or they could not provide you with any information and give you a $500 credit instead. I've been doing this, like I said, 30 years. That was 2002. And from 2002 until 2024, when the law changed, only one time did anyone ever fill out the information. Everyone else gave the $500 credit. Because no one wants to be on the hook for a mistake by saying, no, the roof is great, and then two months later it starts leaking. So in 2024, New York State changed that law. Now, everybody has to fill it out. Everyone has to fill out an affidavit, all sellers, and provide it to the buyers as part of the contract or with the deal sheet.
Yes.
A good broker like you would have it done on the site, so
Yes.
I get it when I get that deal sheet. And it provides all the information that the seller's aware of. So there is a lesser extreme here. They're not telling you everything's perfect. They're telling you that we believe these are the things are fine with the house. And quite often, they're wrong about a few things. It's not an excuse to not get an inspection. It's somewhat helpful to move forward to get an inspection, but it is not a reason not to get an inspection. It does not take the place. You need to get that inspection. So that law changed in 2024. No one can give you a $500 credit anymore. Everyone has to fill out that sheet. And if they really lie on it, they are liable going forward. I have yet to see a lawsuit based on it because it is a relatively new law, but it's potentially there.
So, by the owner, or is it by
The seller.
The owner, the seller of the house,
Not the person, just the seller?
the seller, the seller. And it mostly is information that only the seller would know. When was your roof last changed? Stuff like that. Is there any mold in the basement? Have you had any flooding? Are you in a flood zone? These are things the owner of a house should know. Now, they can be verified, flood zone stuff at least. But like I said, it's based on their knowledge and how serious they take it, and you're not gonna believe they take it super seriously, and that's why the home inspection is still essential. Once that's all done, you have your mortgage commitment. Your bank tells you they're ready to go. That's an important thing when the lender says, we can now move forward. Title company says, we're all clear to close. We will now schedule a closing. Has anybody been at a closing? Any kind? Closing's just like this. It's a bunch of people in a room finalizing the details of the transaction. All right, they're all at one table. The title closer's there, your bank's there, your bank counsel is there, your attorney's there, the sellers are there, and the seller's lawyer's there. We're all just working out the terms that are already codified. It's mostly the payments and your bank issues. So you're going to sit there and you're going to be presented with a pile of papers from your mortgage lender that you're going to have to confirm and sign off on. Okay, that's your loan. Those are your loan documents. As a lawyer, I'm just going to make sure it's the right interest rate, right dollar figure, there's no prepayment penalty. All right? The documents are going to be explained to you by your mortgage lender soon, and also the bank attorneys at the closing. The attorney for the seller and I will have worked out all the adjustments, all the payments that need to be made at closing in the few days before. Now, I won't be able to do that until your mortgage bank tells me how much money I'm playing with. If you have a $500,000 loan, some costs come off the top because the bank has things like underwriting and document prep. So maybe I'm picking a number out of the hat, sorry if I offend anybody. I get $496,000 that's available to me, and we have to pay $510,000. So I'm going to tell you I have $496,000 from your mortgage, you owe another $15,000, and you're going to have to bring that to closing with you in certified funds. Just ask me. Okay, anybody. And thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you
for letting me go out of order. All right.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to talk about money because I know everybody wants to be there for this. Hi, welcome. We're just going to jump right in. This is Vic from Mid-Island Mortgage right here in Westbury, and he's going to tell you about all the programs that we can get you.
So my name is Vic Ramdeen. I'm with Mid-Island Mortgage right here in Westbury. They've been around for about 65 years and counting, so they've been around for the longest time. We are the largest privately owned bank in the entire country. We underwrite in-house. We service our own loans. That means you'll always get your mortgage statement from us, Mid-Island Mortgage. The advantages to that is this, and the one thing that a partnership like this gives you is we don't leave you at closing. So when you close, I will always be with you in the future. Whereas when you close with another institution, you close, no, call customer service, call this, call that, no, call me up and I'll be able to help you out. I'll be there for you from beginning to end and beyond, right? So in your folder, just to get to the money part of it, you would have a list like this. Your assets, I'll go through that, right? You'll send them to me, I'll go through that with you. Most importantly, what is your monthly payment going to be? Okay? You may be approved for X dollars, but you're saying, hey Vic, I'm approved for this much, but I can't afford it. I want to be, how much would it take me to be approved for, let me throw a number out there, $3,500. Vic, my maximum I want to spend on my house is $3,000. What number do I need to be at for that to work? So I work with you to make sure the budget that I'm putting you in, I don't get a call 3 months from now saying, Vic, I can't afford this anymore. What do I do? Never going to happen. So we're going to work together to make sure that monthly number, principal, interest, tax, and homeowners insurance is exactly what you can afford, right? So once you send me this list, I'll put that together for you, and it has a small, an application here, and you can fill it out online as well, okay? Clear title, a survey. He didn't mention survey, but you would need a survey as well. You guys know what a survey is or not?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. So can you tell everybody what a survey is? I'm trying to get some interaction.
I don't want to talk to you.
Okay, so a survey says from front to back, side to side, what's on your property, correct? They're making sure that your neighbor's fence is not on your land, or your fence is not on your neighbor's land. And if something like that happens, it goes back to the attorney, he reads the title, it's part of the title report, and they negotiate that being moved and that being rectified before you close on the house. Okay, so that's where it becomes very, very important. So this, go ahead.
So is this extra money?
It's part of your, what we consider to be your closing cost. So everything that we're talking today is part of your closing cost. So when I put your profile together and I come up with numbers for you, closing cost, this is how much money you're going to need to close. So for example, I have a client right now, he only has down payment. Where do we get the rest of the money to close? And that's where the grants come in, right? We offer what is called Sony May. Sony May is a state grant that gives you up to $15,000 towards your closing cost. But Sony May is very specific with income requirements, so you have to be very careful, right? And most grants, they have expiration dates, so you have to do a little bit of research on that. For me, I will, you do the research, I'll work with you on getting those numbers for you. Sony May, they never run out, they're available, they're consistent, and we close them every day, right? So I'll be able to do that for you. Go ahead.
Sorry. In this case, when made, it can be approved for $50,000. That means that $50,000 go in the mortgage in the
No,
future, or
it's
it's
a
just a grant?
It's a grant.
It's just a grant, it's, you don't pay it back, okay? But it's very income specific, because they try to give it to up and coming families that don't make much money. So that way you become part of a home buying situation, right? So that's Sony May. And again, there's other programs out there, and that will go for co-ops, condos, and homes as well. Question? No?
No.
You sure? Okay. So again, through our realtor here today, we and healthcare, we're part of NYU, we're part of Northwell. We're the preferred lenders for them, NYPD and fire department. No processing fee, no application fee, no doc fee, no lock-in fee, no commitment fee. So we get rid of all your junk fees. As a bank, we only have one fee, which is an application fee. You only pay at the end of closing. That's it. If you don't get the loan, you never pay it. And if you want to buy your rate down. So I'll tell you, hey, this is the rate today. This is the cost of buying your rate down. We look at two things. One, is it worth it? And if it is, we buy it down and it becomes part of your closing. Two, if it's not worth it, if we service your loan as an FHA loan and rates go down, because we service your loan, because we are a bank, we automatically reduce your interest rate regardless of your credit. You could have a 400 credit score. Once we service the loan under our FHA program, we automatically reduce your interest rate. Period. No W-2s, no pay stubs, no tax returns, because you have your loan with us, and we've been servicing your loan, and you've been paying on time. So that's a big advantage from the other banks as well. So I bring a lot to the table. Questions, I love questions. So we went through programs, we went through what you need to get pre-qualified. We spoke about the VA.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you have a.
Because you don't have tax returns to show. Like FHA requires 2 years of tax returns, and you have to qualify under those numbers. Self-employed owners, taxi drivers, home health aides, shop owners. I'm sorry?
Me.
Realtors. Vic, we have the money, but we can't show our tax returns because we write everything on. We don't like paying Uncle Sam. Not a problem. 20 to 25% down. We'll work with your accountant or CPA to get a letter saying that, you know, you're making the money, and we'll give you that loan. A lot of my clients either own cafes, they own realtors,
Yeah.
you know, they own businesses, cab drivers. we do a lot of it with them.
Thank you so much. We're gonna talk about home inspection.
Thank you, Lina. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt DeLeo, the owner of H&W Inspections, a licensed home inspector in the state of New York. Really, I come with 15 years trade experience in all aspects of the trades. My entire family's all tradesmen, so a little bit about us is we got into home inspections a few years ago after we bought our home and realized that the home inspector we hired did a terrible job, and it ended up costing us thousands of dollars after closing, which you don't want to spend after you just spent all that money. So we got into home inspections and we started doing them. So a little bit about home inspections. I know like Lina and Michael were talking about, it's very important. You don't want to skip it, no matter new builds, rehabs or anything. During a home inspection, we like to, we start on the outside. You call us up, we come there, we start on the exterior, do a walk around, we look at everything, go on the roof. During the roof, some roofs are very pitched, too steep, or any reason slate. No matter the roof, we always like to make sure we inspect it, whether, I go up on a ladder, a drone, a pole with the camera, to make sure that we always inspect the roof, because you don't want to leak down the line because someone missed something they didn't check out. After we go on the outside, then we go on the interior. I start in the attic. We check, we make sure that your sheathing is fine, it's not rotted out, no water damage. Then we slowly work our way down to each room, check all the electrical. And then after each room is inspected, we like to go through with a thermal camera to make sure no leaks that you can't see, because let's say they just put sheetrock up and it didn't rain, or it rained and you can't see. Like to make sure no hidden issues. Insulation's another thing. You might not be insulated and push more money in oil or gas down the line. After that, I go work my way down. Then we check basically everything, all the doors, electrical, plumbing. Make sure your toilets, sinks, everything flushes. Then we work our way down to the kitchen, make sure your appliances are good, working order. Then after that, we go down to the basement and I check for all your utility cutoffs, make sure that your electrical panel, I take the cover off, make sure that there's no double tap neutrals or anything crazy going on there, because that's the last thing we want is an electrical issue. Your water shut off, you don't want it corroded. You got to make sure the ground's there. That's another thing you don't want to deal with. Really, we just go through everything. Some people ask us that, is it a pass or fail? It's not. It's a home inspection. I'm just trying to let you know, it's not, oh, is it up to code or is it this? I'm just there to let you know there's a possible danger, a possible issue, defect, or DIY maintenance that, anybody can do on the weekend. So I don't want to freak people out when I do my inspections. I tell all my clients, when you hire me, you hire a friend. Come with me on the inspections, ask me all the questions you want, and we make sure that if we do see an issue, when I put it in the report, I don't want to alarm anyone. Every house has an issue, nothing's perfect, but we're just there to let you know, like, oh, your roof is might need, replacing in a few years, or your water heater's towards the end of its life. Maybe in 5 years it'll break down. So just a heads up. Like Lina and Michael were saying, after I give you the report, if there's any major issues, they can discuss. And you're investing a lot of money. You don't want to spend any more money after you already spend all this money closing and everything. So they'll negotiate some terms or however that works on their end. But for the most part, I make sure that when you're buying the house, no hidden things, because I like to use all state of the art. I use moisture meters to make sure that the wood or the concrete didn't have a leak in it previously, or they tried shop vacuuming it. Some houses that we did inspections in, there was bee nests in the walls. We had birds in the attic who was making a nest in the electrical, chewing the electrical. You don't want any of that stuff. So, getting a home inspection is very important. You don't want to skip out, lose anything, or miss anything. Yes.
Yes, I heard you talking about open permits. I know where they are, but if you do the inspection, you just work in the physical part of the house, or also you can see if the house has all permits or violations for anything?
Well, we're not like a town inspector. They're the ones who will come out if you're getting like the electrical updated, or to make sure you have the right breakers and stuff in there. We're more of, you're buying the house, I come in and I make sure that the wire, nothing hidden or nothing crazy for the electrical.
That'll be done at search.
So that will be through
The title.
Yes,
Yes.
that's how it's
Yes.
done, yes. So
Yeah.
you're thinking about the seller was didn't complete a work. He started installing a pool and he didn't finish the CO or the permit for it because he didn't want to up his taxes.
Right.
Don't worry about that. They're gonna handle that.
Yeah.
They will handle that. You will be covered for that.
Peter Carbone. I work at Carbone Malloy Insurance. It's my family's independent insurance agency. We're located right here in Westbury. We've been around since 1949. I'm third generation in that business. So I'm here to talk about everyone's favorite topic, insurance. No, it's not. But it is extremely important. When you're buying your house, this is going to be, most people, it is your biggest asset. You're putting all your money into a house. It's going to be your life. You want to make sure that you're insured correctly because a lot of people are investing most of all of their money into a house, or the most majority of it, to build a family or start something new. There's many things you have to take into effect. The main thing is, first off, you need to have a couple of questions you're going to need to know. I gave everyone here a sheet right here. It's called a property information sheet. It's very simple. You'll see at the top, it's just your basic info. Whenever you purchase researching homeowners insurance, homeowners condo insurance, either or, they're going to want all your personal information. They're going to want who's going to be the owners. If it's going to be you and your wife or your husband, your spouse, they're going to want their name, their date of birth, their social security number. They're going to run credit reports on you. It's going to be a soft hit credit. They are going to run insurance reports. They're going to run credit reports. They're going to run background checks on everyone to see who, because at the end of the day, they're insuring a pretty large asset for you if something goes wrong. The insurance market right now is what we call a hard market, which meaning there is a lot less carriers, probably right. Pretty much they're going to want to know the updates for the house. Like we all spoke about before, they're going to want to know when the electrical was last updated. They're going to want to know when the boiler was done, the heating, the plumbing. So all those things you're going to find out when you're researching getting your home. Their insurance company is going to want to know all that information. They want to know every piece of how old it is. And if a house is older, and say the burner's 35 years old, 4 years old, those are things you need to find out before you get your insurance policy and your quote, because that could affect you getting insurance if you don't have things up to date. So that is very important. Another thing is, essentially, if you've got gas heat or oil heat. That's not a make or break by any means. The one thing that could cause just not issues, but make you have less markets out there is if the oil tank is in the ground.
Yes.
If the oil tank is in the ground, there will be a lot less insurance carriers that want to insure you because they know there's a risk of contamination that could happen if the tank spills and then it goes into the ground. They're not going to cover that. That's a whole different story. There's exclusions on policies, so that's a pollution incident. But these are questions that you need to know when you're getting your insurance quotes. Age of the roof, that is a big thing right now. Have the age of a roof. If you are purchasing a house and that roof looks like it's gonna, fall in, or there's like shingles missing all over the place, it is important to know that, and because their insurance carrier is going to come out and they could say, well, you need to get the roof. So that's something you talk about with your lawyer, attorney, your real estate agent, and you figure out those things to make sure it's all in order when you're closing. The main things you're going to see on your policy, there's a lot of forms built out. Insurance policy is a legal document. It's a legal document when you look through it. They're going to ensure there's going to be something about your property coverage, which is your home, how much coverage you have in your house, and they do not care how much you buy your house for. No, insurance companies do not care if you bought your house for $2 million. They're going to say, how much is it to rebuild that house? That is what insurance companies, that's how insurance works. It's to rebuild and bring you back whole. So if your house costs you $2 million to build, to buy, but it costs $800,000 to rebuild, that's how much your house is going to be insured for. Because they're not insuring the value of the asset of your land, they're insuring what it costs to rebuild your structure. Contents coverage, which that's for you to decide really, like how much contents you have in your house, your clothes, your furniture, something added on. There'll be another thing on there you will see. There'll be a line on your first, what's called a declaration page. It'll be called other structures. That's like fences, a pool, patio, other structures outside your house itself. Loss of income, loss of income, loss of use. That is if you have a fire. If you have a fire, or maybe a pipe bursts in your house, and you can't live there anymore, and the insurance company comes in like, okay, we're gonna pay to fix your house, the contractors get everything together, and you're like, well, I can't live here anymore. There's a coverage on your policy called loss of use. They're gonna say, I'm just gonna throw a number out there, let's say they said you have $30,000 loss of use. That means they're gonna give you $30,000 to go live somewhere for 12 months and pay rent until you can come back and live in your home. And then the last one thing off that is the last thing you'll see on the main declaration page is liability insurance. If somebody sues you for something on your premises. I know people are gonna think what's gonna really happen. Things do happen. I see things happen mostly with children. If you have kids come over to play dates. That's when someone gets hurt. That's when things can happen. Or just having a party or people over, or a guest or someone coming over. You should at least have, I would say, at least have $500,000 in liability. You might think, oh, I don't want my insurance to be high. I totally understand that. Nobody does. I don't want to pay my insurance if it's really high. I pay insurance as well. But liability is a very small expense in your insurance policy. It's probably going to, you tell whoever you go to get a quote, it's tell him to increase it from 300 to 500 to 500 to $1 million. It's going to be very minuscule. It's not going to be a lot. So have liability. That's protecting your asset in a lawsuit. And that's really it. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to give me a call or talk to me after. I'm happy to. Thank you.
I can't believe it's already 7:30. I thank you so much for coming here. I know 1 hour might not feel like enough, but I feel like you've gotten your feet wet, you've got your palate wet, you kind of have a, where you want to go. So we are all available to you in those bags. Our business cards, contact information are all there.